bubble. Woohoo! Oscar.
When Sean found out he was going to be a father, he was just over the moon.
Sean was at a point in his life where he was doing really well. He had a good job. We were very proud of who he was becoming. It was really nice to see.
Sean worked really hard. All the money they got went to me and Oscar. Sean wasn't supposed to be working that Sunday. He was supposed to work the Saturday, but he ended up asking for the Saturday off.
On Sunday, October the 10th, 2021, I was just watching TV and I'd got a phone call.
There was a commotion in the street, a very large-scale disturbance, screaming. People looked out their windows and there was a man on the ground.
Sean's girlfriend, Chloe, said she'd seen police. There was police all about. There's people running out houses. I was like, right, I'm coming over.
The police came to the door and then they went, I'm sorry to tell you, but Sean's died. I fell to the floor, crying, screaming, felt sick, just total heart shattered.
What happened that night would chill the community to the core. A murder in a normally quiet town with the suspect nowhere to be found.
Sean was just walking home minding his business and he lost his life. That's harrowing. It's terrible.
The police were struggling to find the killer of Sean. This is a significant challenge for police. Where did you start?
Knowing that the person who killed Sean was on the run was quite scary.
This killer was an out-of-control, chaotic, frantic man who had consumed a huge amount of alcohol, was incredibly angry and looking to harm somebody.
To bury a child is just heart-wrenching. I feel empty. I don't live the way I used to. I'm just existing now. I would never, ever wish it on anybody. This picture is Sean and his sister, Simone. They were at his cousin's wedding. It was such a great day. The videographers were following Sean about because he danced a lot. And we've got a wee group of them in there dancing. So that's him with his sister, Samantha. I met Sean's dad in 1993. We had Sean's sister, Simone, and his second sister, Samantha. And then Sean was born in 1998. With having the two girls, we were rooting for a boy. And if it was a boy, he was going to be named Sean straight away. So even before we found out, cousins would touch my stomach and say, baby Sean. All the time, they would just rub at baby Sean.
I loved being the oldest, so having a little brother was great. Sean was definitely the wild one growing up. Me and Sam were a lot calmer. We like to follow the rules, things like that.
When Sean was a toddler, he gave us a false sense of security from being a quiet baby to a toddler that just as soon as he found his feet, he was running. That was him.
One time, I think he jumped out the window and he ran into the neighbour's house, and I remember knocking on the door to get him back in.
Sean always knew he was like the centre of attention. He stood out.
He was definitely the funny one and always getting up to something.
When Sean was born, It was in Paisley, and we stayed in Paisley for a long time. Paisley was really bad for gangs, and there was loads of crime going on. So I felt I had to kind of move from that area just for my children. And for Sean, it was because he was easily led with older boys.
We moved to Stevenston when Sean was about 7. I would have been about 11, just starting high school. We all made friends quite quickly at school. Sean ended up being parts of football teams there. He was in the school plays. So yeah, he did settle in really nicely.
Sean loved his new life. He loved that he had the beach next to him. He had made friends, and there was a skating disco at night. He could go ice skating. He loved the ice skating and the swimming.
I went to the same high school as Sean. He was a bit of a class clown. You always seen him running the corridors, so you just knew he had loads of personality. We started talking in March, but we started getting out on April Fool's Day. They invited me over to his dad's house, and I just stayed the night. And then that was it. I stayed for 2 weeks after that. And then we went over to Sean's mum's house and lived there.
They were meant to stay for one night, and they never left.
They were both big personalities. They used to wind each other up.
Watch my glasses!
And I could see that's where Sean got his personality from.
They were good for each other. They were funny together. She was a quiet one, he was a loud one, so it was like yin and yang. He did change. He was in the house more, spent loads of time with her, went to shops for her, done everything that she needed. He would do it. He was really good.
Me and Sean moved in together in 2019. We loved it. We were so excited. It meant so much to us both because we knew that we wanted a family. We wanted to get engaged.
Chloe had a feeling that she was pregnant, so I bought the pregnancy test kit and I took it to Chloe and I gave it to her, and it came positive, so I think I was one of the first ones to find out.
During Chloe's pregnancy, Sean was very excited. He had numerous posts up about it. Can't wait till my little one's here, and just saying how much he loved them already.
I gave birth to Oscar on the 5th of July 2020. When Sean first met Oscar, he was crying with joy. I just remember the smile on his face. He was like, I can't believe this. This is actually happening.
Chloe was nervous that she was burping and everybody was watching you and he's getting that. Sean was a really good dad, always cuddling. I loved playing with him. Oscar was his baby boy and he spoke about him all the time.
Bouncy, 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 bouncy.
It's just really sad that he didn't get to see Oscar's personality because he was still so young at the time.
The last time I actually spoke to Sean was the night before. I had Oscar on the Friday night. I took him home, and Sean, he didn't really say this a lot, but he was like, thanks Mum, thanks for doing everything. And I had stood there at the car, at the door, and I thought, should I go in and give him a cuddle for that or not? And I was like, I'll see him tomorrow. And I just drove away and went home. And that will always haunt me. I wish I'd went back in and just gave him that hug. It was kind of like a bittersweet memory.
Sean worked with my dad, so it was like bathroom work, joinery, that kind of thing.
It was just a normal day. It was quite a cloudy, kind of rainy day.
Sean would usually get home. Sometimes it'd be 6, sometimes it'd be 7, sometimes it'd be 8. I put Oscar to bed, like just a normal night. I started clicking on that something was wrong because we were all like in this group chat. And then a message said, "Sean, who were the 2 guys shouting at you?" I tried to phone Sean, couldn't get through to him, so I phoned his friend John and I said, "Who was it you heard?" And he went, "I don't know, there was 2 guys shouting," and then the phone went down. And then that's when the panic started kicking in because he was just round the corner, like he should be home by now. After that phone call, I was like, I better phone Debbie because I feel like something's wrong.
She was panicking. You could hear the panic in her voice. And so I was like, "Can you see anything out there? Can you look out the window?" So she looked out the window and she said she'd seen police. There was blue lights, there was police all about. There's people running out houses. I was like, right, I'm coming over.
I just had a newborn, so I remember lying in bed all cuddled up, and then I just remember sitting up and my watch had showed me a message saying, "Answer your phone, I need to talk to you." So when my mum called me, she told me that she thinks something has happened to Sean. She said that he was on the phone to one of his friends, like on FaceTime, and they heard somebody shouting at him, and then his phone switched off. Nobody could contact him. And there was something in me in that moment that I knew. Don't know if it's a sibling bond, but there was something in my body that told me that he was gone.
When I seen them blue lights, I felt sick. There was loads of things going through my head. I couldn't leave the house because Oscar was in his bed sleeping. It was just awful. I felt really trapped.
As soon as we got to the car park at the scene, we got out straight away. I approached my mum. There was tape at the end of the street, police tape. My mum was just anxious, like just waiting. The detective came over and they asked to speak to my mum and my stepdad, and we just seen my mum's reaction, and she kind of just burst into tears. You could just see it in her face, and straight away we knew exactly what he was telling them.
I was waiting roughly from about 9 o'clock till 12. My dad came in and he said to me, "Chloe, this is something serious. There's tape everywhere and it looks as if they're starting to put like a tent or something up." And that's when my heart dropped. I was like, it can't be. And I just seen the police car pulling up outside, and I went and answered the door and they went, "Are you Chloe?" And they went, "I'm sorry to tell you, but Sean succumbed to his injuries." I was in total disbelief. After that, I was screaming in the street. And I just remember all the neighbours being at their window staring. And all I could scream, like all I was screaming about was, "You've took some away from his boy. You've took his dad away." I couldn't look at Oscar because of the guilt. I felt so guilty because he was smiling at me and his dad's been taken away from him. After that, I left the house and I went to stay with Debbie, and I never went back.
I remember just disbelief. It can't be true, it can't be him. I think they've got the wrong person. And the first person I phoned was my mum. And she just screamed and she was like, "No, no, no." And I was like, "Mum, it's true. He's been killed. Like, somebody's killed my boy."
Those words are always going to haunt me for the fact that my mum's had to phone her mum and tell her something so awful has happened.
Dalry is a town in Ayrshire. It's a small town. It's a small community. Everyone knows everyone in Dalry. It is unusual. In fact, in my memory, I don't remember any other murders. It's a place you don't expect something like this to happen. There's not a huge fear of crime.
In 2021, I was a senior reporter with the Paisley Daily Express newspaper. That role required me to keep in contact with police and media sources, cover crime scenes and be a voice for the local community. On Monday, I got up for work and headed out to take my dog for a walk. A colleague had contacted me asking if I knew what was going on in Dalry because there was a large police presence in St Margaret's Avenue. We just headed in the direction where I was met with dozens of police cars, plainclothes officers, CID officers, police tape blocking both ends of the street on either direction. I asked if there was any information that they could provide at that time, and the police officer told me that there was active inquiries and all would be revealed throughout the police outlets at the appropriate time.
The police were confused. They're trying to find out what had happened. And rightly so. They can't reveal information to try and find out why it had happened, and they also need to trace the killer.
It was a big thing to cover a murder, particularly one from a town where I grew up in. It was very hard-hitting, emotional, and you felt the ripple effect throughout the community. Social media had some rumours circulating and they were stating that a young man named Sean had been murdered. Police weren't forthcoming with any names at the time, and that, I think, gave speculation as to could there be another murder? Why was Sean murdered? Why Sean?
The policeman came in and asked us who would want to do that to him, things like that. So there's nobody I can think of because he was so well liked. I was just trying to go through my head who would just kill him. Was there a fight? Did this person try and rob him? I just couldn't believe it.
The detective had told my mum that it was fatal because of a stabbing. When I was trying to think who had done it, I didn't really have an idea because not like he was in trouble with anyone.
It made me feel so scared. We could potentially be walking by him in the street if we go outside. I was just so anxious.
On the Tuesday night, we went to visit Sean in the hospital in Glasgow. I was definitely scared of what I was going to walk in and see, but I don't think I would have forgiven myself if I didn't get that chance to say bye to him. We had to go in small groups, so my mum, my stepdad and Chloe went in together first.
And just seeing him there, he was just perfect, just lying there. And I just promised him there that I'll always look after Oscar. I'll always be there. For Chloe as well, I'll always be there for them.
The first thing I did was I gave him a cuddle. And I just wanted to stay there and smelling his hair. I loved the smell of his hair. I never wanted to leave.
I went in with my dad and my sister, and when I touched his hand, he was freezing. So the whole time I spent trying to rub his hand, trying to kind of warm it up a bit. The way that he was lying, it kind of looked like a wee smile on his face. I just was waiting for him to sit up and say boo, because he always played jokes, and that's all I wanted him to do so that everything could be fine.
Why not me? Why my son? Why take him away? He was just living his life. He was getting his driving lessons, he was working, he was achieving things, goals. I could go, I've had my family, just take me. I would take his place. In a heartbeat, I would take his place.
On the 12th of October, police released a statement stating that a 30-year-old man had been arrested in connection with Sean McKay's murder. It was big news. It was a big story for journalists, but it was a bigger story for the community of Dalry because someone had been arrested.
When Sean was killed, the police found a person who made a 999 call. And in that call, this person said his friend had killed someone, murdered someone.
During the 999 call, the caller was trying to explain the circumstances of the event, but the call handler understandably wasn't interested in that at that point because saving Sean's life took precedence in that conversation.
It was only when the police went to take a statement from that person that they established that his friend was Gavin McVeigh. He implicated Gavin McVeigh as being the killer. When they look at Gavin McVeigh, it's someone that is not a pleasant individual.
Gavin McVeigh, I'd never heard even Sean mentioning that name.
The first thing I did was try and look him up to see if I recognised the name, but I didn't. Then I was asking people, I was like, do you know who this is? And it was like, no.
The following day, Gavin McVeigh appeared in Kilmarnock Sheriff Court and was remanded in custody for the murder of Sean McKay.
I felt a relief that he was off the streets, that it was safer for other folk. Somebody's going to get held responsible for taking Sean, you know. Maybe we'd get answers of why. The police kept us up to date, told us that Gavin McVeigh was caught in a different town. They'd found the weapon and they've got DNA on the weapon.
I had never heard of Gavin McVeigh, and I don't think many people actually did, apart from maybe people who sort of ran in those circles with Gavin, but he was not a well-known name at the time, especially to myself, who lived 5 minutes away.
Gavin had previous convictions. These were attempting to defeat the ends of justice, which means perverting the course of justice, assaulting a child, and carrying a weapon.
He drank a lot of alcohol, he consumed drugs.
This is someone that had a past, a violent past. It was someone that was not a pillar in society.
On the 9th of October, a man was stabbed 3 times in the back. And this man happened to be Gavin McVeigh's friend's nephew. It's the friend that made the 999 call.
Because of the incident, Gavin McVeigh and this friend were drinking tonic wine in excess. They approached a friend's house and the couple within, at first, I think, were perfectly fine with Gavin and his male friend being there. Gavin and the male property owner went to a local convenience store to buy more tonic wine. And whilst at the shop, an incident took place there. Gavin was verbally vile to the shopkeeper. Racial comments were made, and he threatened to kill the shopkeeper. The shopkeeper was terrified, but he handled himself great and just quickly asked Gavin to leave and told him he was banned from the shop for the rest of his life.
Gavin McVeigh was clearly emotionally dysregulated by the incident, and he had gone into this heightened state of anger, which, when fueled by alcohol, he was out of control. So much so that even when he'd gone to a couple's house who he was friends with, he was incredibly aggressive, incredibly angry, stabbing a knife into the carpet, saying that he wanted to kill somebody. He frightened them. So much so that when he left the house, they actually called the police themselves to report his behaviour.
Gavin McVeigh, he was aggressive. He was in possession of a knife. He was insisting that he was going to kill someone.
Gavin's friend was full of alcohol and wasn't telling him, Gavin, put that knife away, or don't be so silly. And when they left the property and were down the street, he didn't take Gavin away from Sean.
Although we might say Sean was in the wrong place at the wrong time, he wasn't. He was in the right place at the right time. He was walking home from work. This was his normal routine. And then Gavin McVeigh was drunk, angry, and unfortunately he saw Sean and he stabbed him in the abdomen.
Once Gavin stabbed him, I think the friend thought, I need to help now. Whilst Gavin made off, Gavin's friend stayed on the scene, called the ambulance and offered Sean CPR until police arrived and at least tried to save the life that Gavin had taken. He didn't have to, but he stayed there and tried.
That is horrendous, absolutely horrendous. An innocent individual's life taken away for no reason at all. A totally unprovoked attack by someone determined to kill another person. It was almost instant death for this poor individual.
We went to where Sean was murdered and we lay lots of flowers. We went quite late so that we didn't have to see anybody, and a car pulled up and a young woman got out the car and asked if we were the family. She was crying, telling us that she was with Sean and her and a few other people in the community had done everything that they could to try and help him. She was lovely. She answered any questions we had, but yeah, she said that he wasn't alone and there was lots of them there, but she was just so sorry that she couldn't save him. It is really nice knowing that nobody just left him in the street on his own.
The police spoke to everybody at the scene. They took statements. Clothing was taken for DNA evidence. They'd gone knocking on doors to see if anybody had seen or heard anything, to really try and build up a picture of what had happened and what had led to these tragic events.
Technically it is a manhunt. So they're looking for him and they're using everything. CCTV. Okay, there was no CCTV where the actual incident happened. But they piece it together looking at public space CCTV. They'll be looking at all his background, all his associates, visiting associates, attending at houses where he was known to frequent. They have to trace this person because it's a dangerous individual that has killed one person. Would he kill again?
After Gavin brutally murdered Sean McKay, he quickly fled the scene and attempted to remain undercover throughout the night at his mother's property. The following morning, he got on the bus to Irvine Town Centre.
The police managed to trace Gavin McVeigh through the CCTV on the bus routes that he took when leaving Dalry.
In the morning of the 12th of October, his sister-in-law had seen him in Irvine. And then he'd gone to another relative's house and he was in an erratic state. He seemed okay earlier on, but he'd changed completely when he went to his relative's house. This was someone that was jittery. He knew what he'd done, and he probably by that time realised that the police would be looking for him.
He was agitated. He kept repeating over and over that something bad had happened. His recollection of the event is that he was standing next to a man, and 1 minute he was stood next to him, and the next minute the man was on the floor, and that man was Sean McKay.
Gavin was traced eventually to his brother's house in Ayr, and that's it, he's arrested.
Meanwhile, there was a police officer searching Gavin's mother's property in Garden. In the garden area, police discovered a tent with a large blood-stained knife concealed behind a rucksack.
When that knife is forensically examined, that knife could be linked to Gavin McVeigh because his DNA was on it. And you had Sean's blood on the blade. So what you have is you've got the murder weapon. They also found fingerprints in his mum's house. So all this is piecing it together and linking him to the house. that is unbelievable forensic evidence. But it doesn't stop there. You've got the person that was the killer that he knew. He's going to plead not guilty to at court. And you need to prove beyond reasonable doubt for the victim's family, Sean's family, because the victim's got no voice. You owe it to the family.
It was the worst day of my life when we had to bury him. But I just wanted everything to be so beautiful for my baby brother, that's what I always say.
I remember when the cars had came, just seeing his coffin, seeing the flowers and stuff that was there, it was just surreal.
We had bagpipes and they piped us out of the street, and then just being in that car, like knowing that that was his last ever journey. Oh, it was heartbreaking.
It felt like a dream. I remember people speaking to me and it was just going straight past me. I couldn't take anything in. I had my dad sitting beside me, holding onto my hand, and I had his sister at the other side. And when they brought the coffin down, I couldn't even look at it. I was devastated.
It's a day that I never wish upon anybody, and especially being so young, nothing can prepare you for when it's your sibling who's only had 23 years of his life, and 23 years would never have been enough.
The trial of Gavin McVeigh took place at Paisley High Court on the 12th of June 2023 and lasted 2 weeks. The trial itself was very busy. Sean's family and friends all attended. There must have been around 20 people there supporting Sean and Sean's family each day of the trial. I've never seen the courtroom so packed, never. From any criminal case, I've never seen so many people all supporting a victim.
It was terrifying because I didn't really know what I was walking into. I knew we were going to see him, but I was so nervous of everything that was going to happen.
When Gavin McVeigh first appeared, he was brought up with handcuffs on. He was vile from the get-go. He would shake his head when the prosecutor was speaking. He would make remarks. He would tut. He was a vile, vile man.
When I first saw Gavin in court, I was just like, there's that monster. I was angry. I was frustrated. I was nervous, quite scared in a way that he was in the same room as us.
My first feelings were like disgusting. I looked at the back of his head and was like, why? Why did you do it? I wish I could have said to him, why? Just tell me, why did you do that to my son?
Gavin McVeigh denied the murder from day one, and despite police having all this evidence, he tried to blame someone else for his terrible, terrible acts of violence on that night.
The police had amassed a lot of evidence, significant evidence. And they had CCTV evidence. They had the knife recovered. They had forensic evidence to link that to Sean and to link it to Gavin. They had statements. They had the friend that had implicated him. So you had all this together. And that should be sufficient to prove beyond reasonable doubt.
When the court was shown the knife, people gasped. I can't remember how long the blade was, but it was a large knife that you know it would do damage if it was to be used in the way it was. It was clear that that had been the solely responsible weapon for murdering Sean.
Obviously, that was very emotional, just seeing what had hurt my brother.
It was frightening to see that that was the weapon that had took Sean's life.
We found out that Sean had been stabbed through his liver into his heart. He wouldn't have stood a chance.
Sean died instantly, and unfortunately, due to the stab wound where it perforated the body, even if this had happened in a hospital, there wouldn't have been anything that they would have been able to do to save his life.
Sean's family and friends conducted themselves so well, but naturally emotions overtook them at times. You know, they would be crying, visibly upset, and quite rightly so. They're hearing the facts of how their loved one was murdered. I just wanted to give them a cuddle. They deserve to be held and squeezed tightly and loved.
We had heard the evidence of a text message sent to someone where it had just said, "I've just killed someone." I don't think there was much more to the text message, but just kind of blunt, and he's used the word killed.
Just before 11 p.m. on the evening of the murder, Gavin McVeigh messaged his friend saying, "I've just killed some," and then he used a derogatory word to describe Sean. The fact that he's put it in a text message shows complete lack of thought, lack of respect, lack of regard at all. And that's an admission of a very serious crime via text message. For him, it's just meaningless.
I sat to Gavin's right-hand side, and I think he must have looked at me a couple of times throughout the trial, sort of with a look of evil. He sniggered a couple of times and would roll his eyes, but fortunately, the family weren't able to see his face because I don't think that they would have appreciated the manner in which he was conducting himself, particularly his facial expressions.
Gavin McVeigh didn't give any reason. There was no reason why he could have killed him, so he didn't even speak in court.
Gavin lodged a special defence of incrimination. He said in court that his friend that had been with him was responsible, fueled by hatred, because his nephew had been stabbed the day before. But there was so much overwhelming evidence against Gavin McVeigh. There was no evidence against this other individual, but he still stuck by that. He was determined to use any means whatever to get off with this.
It was very clear to the court that this friend wasn't responsible for the murder. When the jury returned the guilty verdict, he was still denying the murder of Sean McKay.
When the jury came back and said guilty, it was brilliant. We all cheered.
On the 23rd of June 2023, Gavin McVeigh was convicted of the murder of Sean, and he was sentenced to 21 years imprisonment for that murder and attempting to defeat the ends of justice in other associated crimes.
He was given 21 years, but I've lost my partner. Oscar's lost his dad. It just wasn't enough.
When the sentencing was passed, Sean's family and friends in the public gallery thanked the jury for finding Gavin McVeigh guilty on all 3 charges. They applauded the jury and said thank you. Gavin McVeigh, however, booed, swore violently, and made a vile hand gesture towards the public gallery.
Gavin showed us all the middle finger as he went back downstairs after being found guilty. It made us feel horrible, but it showed his character.
There's no accountability, complete lack of remorse for his behaviour, and also a lack of acknowledgement of the severity of his actions. You know, it seems like it's all just a game to him. Coming face to face with Sean's killer would have been very difficult for the family, especially to confront someone that has so mindlessly taken something so precious from your life without showing any remorse for their actions.
I'm generally not affected. After this case, it hit home. I was glad that the jury had returned the guilty verdict on all 3 charges for Sean's family. I think I actually got a bit emotional within the court, writing my notes, but I thought, well done. It was a great result.
This was Oscar's first birthday party. It's quite hard to look at, obviously, because that was Oscar's only birthday that Sean got to be part of. So yeah, it's a very, very special memory in that one.
This video is just, when you hear Oscar laughing in it and him kissing Oscar, it's just, it shows you how close they were, how much he loved his son and how much his son was with him. They were just great together.
Sean McKay was a father, a son, and a friend of the community in Dora. I don't know why I'm getting emotional. He was a lovely boy. I didn't know him, but I think he had a heart of gold. He didn't deserve to die.
I was always so proud of him. He should be here. He should be with Chloe and Oscar. I miss him just so much.
I think I just miss his laugh, hearing his voice, just because he made everyone laugh all the time.
He lit up every room that he went into. He was loud. My mum had him on her phone as Foghorn Sean. He could make you laugh. See, when you're upset or you're down or any mood that you're in and you need lifted, he could do that. It breaks my heart every day to see Oscar without his dad. You'll never get to know him the way that I did.
So sorry, Daddy.
Oscar asks a lot of questions about his dad now. He's getting to that age. He knows who he is. It does say that he misses him, and we try our best to tell him stories and show him pictures and videos. Oscar is his dad's double, full of energy. So I think they would have got on really well, and it would have been nice to see that relationship.
I've never moved on from it. Even now, 4 years later, I still think that there's nobody as good as him. After Sean died, I found out he was going to ask me to marry him. He'd spoke about it with his closest friends. I would have said yes, definitely.